Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know me, I am Lizzie. I currently am a 26-year-old entrepreneur. I own my own business. I am a confidence coach. I empower women to know that they have everything they need within themselves. And I wanted to share more about my journey, more about who I am, what makes me who I am, and share about myself. So this is actually not the first time I've been on YouTube. I do have more videos on this channel, but I actually made my first debut to YouTube when I was around 12 or 13. I really loved watching YouTubers. I loved seeing what other people's lives were like and seeing how other people experience the world, and started creating my own YouTube videos when I was a young teenager, and I still was like fully myself and didn't give a fuck about anything that anybody thought of me. And if you want to watch any of those videos, some of them are cringy, some of them are hilarious, and but so worth the watch. If you go to the description in this video, I will add what my old YouTube handle was, and you can go ahead and binge that stuff. But yeah, I'm back on YouTube, which I am so excited about. I absolutely love YouTube. I love watching videos, right? Learning about people, and I'll tell you more about that, why I love that, why I love this. And yeah, I'm gonna plug something real quick. I do have a couple of podcasts, but my first podcast does have a longer, more drawn out version of the story that I'm gonna share with you. So if you want to check that out, I'll also leave that link in the description. It's called My Medicine, and it's the first episode, and I share more in depth of like how I came to be and who I am and why I am the way I am. So I want to touch on that now. And yeah, I am Lizzie. I grew up as an only child. I have a mom and a dad, and they never got married. So they were just boyfriend and girlfriend for a very short period before they conceived me. I was an absolute miracle child. I was not planned at all. And I'm here to bring more light and love into this universe. And I'm so grateful to my parents for that. Thank you. Thank you. But my parents did not stay together for a while. They broke up officially when I was 2. I got full-time custody with my mom and part-time with my dad. And I lived with my mom every single day except for every other weekend when I would go spend time with my dad. I have grown up in Connecticut. I've been in Connecticut my whole entire life, and it's wonderful. It's pretty cold right now, but it's wonderful. And my dad, I would go visit my dad during, every other weekend. He would come and pick me up from Cape Cod, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from here. And I would spend time with him. I would spend summers there, and yeah, definitely had like two lives in a way, kind of the best of both worlds. But little Lizzie didn't really understand how traumatizing her life really was as a child, and that's okay, that's perfect. But I'm going to share a little bit more about that. And yeah, I spent a lot of time with my mom. I also don't feel like people talk a lot about parents and issues with their parents and things like that, because for whatever reason. But I think it's really important to talk about that kind of dynamic and be a voice for those who have experienced generational trauma and like the cycles and the patterns. And I am definitely a cycle breaker, and know that I'm meant to just shine my light and shine the awareness of the actual trauma, the generational trauma that is very evident in this society, and encourage others to also be generational, cycle breakers, and live a life for them and be authentic and love themselves. But that's why I'm passionate about sharing about my parents and my relationship with my parents. And I've had a unique relationship with them. My parents were actually around my age when they had me. They were technically 25, but yeah, I spent a lot of time with my mom. She works as an airline a travel agent, and now she works at home. She's been working at home since I was maybe in like 8th grade. So whenever I would be home, my mom would either be working or she would be getting off of work. And she doesn't really love her job and has felt a lot of stress. As a child, I've definitely seen her struggle with money. We were pretty poor, and not that I could necessarily see so much of it. I just knew that my mom was struggling and I could see that. And, when she wasn't working, she was usually stressed about work. And because it was just me and I was an only child, a lot of that anger would kind of be directed towards me, which is a huge reason why I have always dreamt and wanted siblings. Always. I would grow up watching Cheaper by the Dozen, just longing for this huge, ginormous, happy family and someone else to kind of take the burden off of just Lizzie, like little Lizzie, and like be able to share the experience of childhood with someone else too. Because living with my mom was really challenging, especially as a mother-daughter relationship's already kind of tough. But we have a unique relationship in that she is like my sister. She's like my best friend, always has been, less so an authority figure though. And I didn't really know how to respect her because she didn't really teach me. And it was just a confusing dynamic when my mom would try to discipline me and would try to be the parent when a lot of the times it was like best friend sister type of thing. As with my dad, my dad was my freaking hero. He was God to me, and I really, really looked up to him, and I was willing to do anything and everything to be this perfect person and be daddy's little princess forever. And I just wanted him to love me and be proud of me. But he was more so a strict parent. He was more so concerned with me having the best grades. If I got an A-, he would ask, why is there a minus at the end of it? Nothing I ever did felt good enough. And I never felt worthy, especially with my dad. But was still willing to live my life for my dad for a really long time. So I went to elementary school. I moved to this town that I'm living in actually right now when I was in 2nd grade. So I started a new school in 2nd grade, which was terrifying, but so glad that happened. I started going to middle school / high school. My middle school and my high school was the same. So 7th through 12th grade was in the same school. And, in middle school, I was still my awkward self, glasses, braces, for a really long time, and was posting YouTube videos, but was kind of getting bullied for it. So I would stop posting YouTube videos. I started making myself really small and hiding parts of me because I didn't want to be bullied, and I didn't want the wrong type of attention. Like, who does, really? So I stopped doing that. I started more so adopting my dad's beliefs. My dad, you know, felt like he knew everything. My dad can be the most confident, amazing, funny, charismatic person in the whole world. But if I did anything to disagree with him or did anything that he didn't like, he would get triggered and get really scary. So instead of seeing that scary part of him, I would just kind of keep things to myself and more so go for my dad's dreams versus my dreams. And I lost myself a long time ago. I also started dating a boy, my first boyfriend, when I was 16. That was a relationship that I thought I was going to be marrying him. I thought we were going to have babies together. I thought we were going to live together forever. And then when I was 19, I received a text right before, actually it's kind of funny because I was going to therapy with my mom. And right before I went into my therapy appointment, my ex-boyfriend at the time messaged me and said, "We need to talk." And that's like never good. And turns out after 3 years of being together, he totally blindsided me and broke up with me over text. And I was absolutely devastated. I didn't know where my life was going. I thought my life was over and really hit rock bottom and had no friends, had no one to talk to really, except for my roommate, Debrishi, who was there for me because I was so enthralled with my relationship that I kind of forgot about my friends and I neglected those other relationships. By that time, I was in college. My dad said that it's very important that you go to college and you get a degree and have a good job, a stable job that you can make a lot of money doing. And as Lizzie, I did not want to struggle. I didn't want to see or repeat that cycle of struggling because I saw it with my mom, and I really wanted to avoid that because I just felt for her. And was living on my own at this point in college, and I decided to study accounting. I took a couple of accounting classes in high school, found out I was really good at it, was like, well, accountants make pretty good money, so I guess I can do that. And graduated in 4 years with my accounting degree. I also got a minor in management and a minor in Spanish. I took like 7 years of Spanish. And yeah, graduated with my accounting degree. I worked in accounting for a few years. And I'll jump back into that, but I want to include around the age of 11, my dad started dating this woman who was 11 years older than me, I think 14 years younger than him, and we started out having a really great relationship. You know, when I was 11, I didn't have much of an opinion or anything like that. But then our relationship started to get more strained, and I felt that my stepmom was jealous of how close me and my father were, which sounds weird, but because of our age difference, I really think that played a factor. And just, I would try to do absolutely everything I could to please this woman. I did everything, and I love making people laugh. I was actually voted class clown in my high school. I love making people laugh. It's like one of my love languages, especially someone who can laugh at my jokes. And the only kind of thing that she would laugh at would be self-deprecation. So I was really hard on myself and just to make this woman laugh. And yeah, I graduated, became an accountant, and shortly after I became an accountant, actually, no. When I was in college, I got the best news in the whole world. One of my dreams and my prayers were answered, and my dad and my stepmom told me that they were having a baby. Literally, my sister is 20 years, our due dates are 20 years to the day. She is, well, because it's easy to keep track of her age. So because I'm 26, she's 6, and she's gonna be 7 soon. I'm gonna be 27 soon. And she was the biggest blessing in the whole entire world. I was so happy to have a sister, so happy to have a sibling. And you know, it's not the typical sibling. Usually siblings aren't 20 years apart, but I was like the cool aunt, and I love children. I worked at a summer camp for 4 summers when I was between the ages of 16 and 19. And yeah, love kids. They are the salt of the earth, and was so happy to have found out that I have a sibling now, and that I was going to have a sibling. So a few years after my sister is born, there starts to become a strain in me and my father's relationship. There was already a strain with my stepmom, but now me and my dad were kind of separating because I was not agreeing with him on every single thing. And I was starting to become my own woman. I was starting to become my own person. I was starting to have my own opinions and have my own thoughts that didn't necessarily agree with his. And ultimately, I talk more about the mistreatment in my podcast episode that I was talking about, but have been gaslit, have been manipulated, have been called really mean names, have been called a bitch, have been told fuck you by my father, and I don't think anything warrants that, but he can be a really scary person to deal with. I went no contact for a year around the time that I graduated. Came back into his life, tried to explain why I went no contact, and honestly the reason is so long, that's like another couple of videos. And ultimately came back because I felt this guilt that like I wished and I prayed for my sibling and my sister, and felt this obligation and this guilt to be back in their life just because of my sister. Not that that's not big enough reason, but I was still experiencing the mistreatment, the manipulation that I was experiencing before, and nothing really changed. I think something else happened and we had another falling out and we stopped talking to each other again. And my partner, I started dating Cameron. I have a partner now I've been with for almost 6 years, which is crazy. Cameron and I have had similar experiences. The way we met was really, really magical. I met him totally by chance the second time. The first time I didn't have a good impression of him at all. But the second time was at a mutual friend's pulled pork dinner party, and I dared him to make a reverse pulled pork sandwich, which is meat on the outside, buns on the inside. He did it, but he used a fork. But that's like how we started connecting, and we were following each other around that party like little puppy dogs, and knew that there was something special there. Was not looking for it, but found him, found my best friend and my partner in crime. And my partner, love him to death, but he wasn't very much help in giving me perspective when it comes to my father and my stepmom. I think he kind of thought that the treatment was normal. And to be honest, I think in this society it can be seen as normal, which is kind of sad. But I really am a strong proponent in that everything happens for a reason. I'm just gonna think about where I was. 1 second. So, I went on this hellish vacation when I was around 21. Which is when I was kind of starting to get, actually, it may have been before. Actually, this was right before I stopped. This was part of the falling out of the first time. My dad and my stepmom invited me to LA and Vegas, which I've been to LA before because my stepmom is from LA. Her and her family lived there for a really long time, so we were going to visit her family over there with my sister. She was probably, 1 at the time. And I talk more about this in the podcast, but it was miserable. It was terrible. And never had experienced anxiety before this trip, but now had anxiety. My body was screaming at me that, like, you need to get the fuck out of this situation. And after that vacation, I was meant to call my dad. Our agreement since I was 13 was that I would call him every single day. Every single day, I would call him because he paid for my phone. And in college, because I was a busy woman, I would call him every other day because he was still paying for my phone bill. And because I was out of routine, I was so traumatized by this vacation that I did not want to call him. That was the last thing I wanted to do, because usually our calls would end up in these huge blown out arguments. And he would trigger the shit out of me and I would trigger the shit out of him, and it would just go on crazy. And I didn't want to call him after this horrible vacation. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a phone first thing tomorrow morning, after he was just blowing up on me because I wasn't being consistent with my calls. I told him, tomorrow morning I'm getting my own phone and I'm gonna ship this phone back to you. The night goes by, me and Cameron are sleeping. It's probably 7 in the morning, much earlier than I would normally wake up. And I get this call. I get actually several calls from my dad and my stepmom. They're leaving me voice messages saying, we're gonna call the cops if you don't call us back. We're gonna call the cops to make sure that you're okay. And it was really, in my opinion, their last ditch effort to try to have control over me, because they had so much control over me before. And I was like, it really had to get so bad that I was like, I deserve so much better than this. And thank God it did. Thank God it did get so bad, because if it didn't, I would still be in that situation. So because they were threatening to call the cops, I was seeing this and made me feel horrible and riddled with anxiety in my body. And I said, don't call, don't worry, I'm here. I'm sending you your phone back. And what I did, I went to Walmart, I bought my own phone. Even though I was a student, I had no money. I bought my own phone and shipped the old one back. And I never gave them my number. I never told them where I lived. And we were no contact for a really long time. And it's definitely taking me back because it was so stressful. That was the first time that I went no contact with them. The second time, I was waiting for them to come and visit my new house because, you know, my dad was like, you gotta buy a house when you're old enough. And I thought it was the right thing to do. And I was willing to do anything, seriously, to make him proud of me. And I bought this house, which wasn't even my idea, and was waiting for him all weekend to come and stop by. He told me he was coming to look at the house. I took the day off. Cameron took the day off. We cleaned all weekend. they didn't come. They didn't show, they didn't call, they didn't text. A week later, I get a call at 7 in the morning, and my dad is just yelling at me and totally deflecting and pointing the finger at me and saying shit. And the last thing he said to me, I think, was "fuck you." And I said "fuck you." And we hung up the phone, and I didn't talk to him for a while again. And after that, I was no contact for a year after that. And I think around that year, within that year, I was still doing my accounting job because that's what I thought I was supposed to be doing. Just to make money, I had to. What they don't tell you about the American dream is that if you want to pay for your 30-year mortgage, that means you have to work your job for at least 30 years. And I was working over 40 hours a week. I was salary, and I didn't know that I wouldn't be able to enjoy my house because I was working so much, working my life away, watching time pass me by, waiting for those weeks to turn into weekends that never lasted, and just this constant cycle that it seems like a lot of people are on this hamster wheel. And one day at work, I was feeling so overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna fucking do? I have to fucking work this job for another 40 years so I can retire and then enjoy my life? And messaged my partner. I called him and I said, I can't do this anymore. And we decided to sell the house. I decided to quit my job. And a year later, I'm sitting on this couch living my most free life. And it's fucking amazing. So I decided, and I knew that what I was doing was not my dream. It wasn't my dream. It was what my father wanted for me, what society wants for me, just to be this little cog in the machine, just keep going, keep grinding, keep hustling, and living a life that literally makes you sick, like, because of the stress and the lack of time for me to actually take care of myself. I did not feel good physically, I didn't feel good mentally and emotionally, and decided that I wasn't going to compromise anymore, and that I was going to live my best life and live the most free life that I can, and that time is our most valuable resource, and I was going to be spending my most valuable resource doing things that I loved and doing things that made me feel happy and was fun, and also was waking up to a lot of trauma that little Lizzie had experienced, and waking up to the mistreatment of my family and my dad and my stepmom, and decided to make my little self proud. My little self wanted to be a teacher, always wanted to be a teacher, wanted to work with other people, help other people in any shape or form, and that's what I'm doing. I am a confidence coach now, and I empower other women, newly spiritual warrior queens, to live their life, live a life that they love, be unapologetically themselves, and not give a fuck what other people fucking think. And I've realized that that's kind of my mission, and that's my soul's purpose, and that shining my light and being this sacred rebel in this world is what I'm meant to be doing. I really dream of a very peaceful, loving place where all of us are like family. All of us see each other as humans. We all see each other as humans who have gone through a lot of shit, because everybody has gone through a lot of shit. And I love being vulnerable. I love being open. I love being myself, because if there's any chance that I can help someone who is in my position, that's exactly what I want to spend my time doing. And feel so empowered but honored and privileged to be who I am and to have come so full circle, to have done so much healing work, so much internal work. I have grown so much even within the last week. It's crazy how my life continues to keep changing. And now I'm currently living in my mom and my stepdad's in-law apartment with my partner. It's a 1-bedroom apartment. It's very modest, it's very tiny, but it's cheap. And I get to be who I am here. I get to spend all of my time doing exactly what I love. And what can be better than that, you know? And it's just so amazing. And I hope that I get to inspire and empower other women to know that this is possible for them, to know that they don't have to keep themselves small. They can live beyond the people, beyond the expectations of other people, beyond their family, beyond society. There is more to what you're seeing right now. There is more to this life that a lot of people here sign up for, which is working a lot and feeling tired and sick, and that there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And I want to help restore people's hope that dreams are still possible. It's still possible for you to be free in a world of oppression. It's still possible for you to be in heaven. It's still possible for you to reach higher levels of consciousness. It's still possible for you to be who you are and come back to your inner self. It's possible to have the courage and confidence to live the life that you love. And just not give a shit about what other people think. And reclaim your power, because that is exactly what I did. And that's kind of like my update. This is what it is now. This is who I am now. I remember feeling so lonely as a child, especially as an only child, caught in the middle between both of my parents constantly, not feeling understood and not feeling appreciated and feeling fucking worthless. And I hope to inspire other people who resonate with me and understand what I'm talking about, that you are worthy, that you are perfect, that you are so fucking lovable. And those people, the people who were not nice to you, said mean things to you, they were lying. They were all lies. They were all fucking lies. And this whole entire time, you have had all of the, everything you need is within you. Everything. And I remember feeling so helpless and looking to other people for advice. I couldn't trust myself to know the right answers, and have come so full circle to rebuild that trust in myself. Rebuild that trust so that I'm able to be authentically who I am and share my story on here. And have the courage and confidence to take a fucking chance. I took a chance over a year ago, and I quit my job, and I had no idea where I was going to go, where it was going to take me. And I am so fucking grateful that Lizzie quit her job and took a chance on herself, because it was absolutely the best thing I've ever done. And I hope to inspire others to take a chance on themselves too. And that life is meant to be enjoyed and lived and loved and fun. I would take life so seriously, but there's something so freeing about just fucking having fun and having fun with it. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to plug some things now. I love being vulnerable. I post the most on my Instagram, which is the same handle as my YouTube channel, Lizzie Bee Loved. I love to dance, so you'll see a lot of dancing videos. I think my TikTok is the same as well. I currently have a Patreon where members can access my diary. I actually decided that it would be so fucking epic to release and publish my diary. I post 4 new entries every week on my Patreon, and there's probably over 60 that are available to read for anybody who signs up. I have a podcast called Open Book Starring Lizzie Bee and Her Diary, where I read directly from my diary and I share context, commentary, and comic relief. I'm going to add all of this stuff in the description box below. I also have a free masterclass, it's called How to Not Give a Fuck But Actually, and I help newly spiritual warrior queens just not give a fuck about what other people think of them and reclaim their power. And I share 5 tips that I use that help women to understand more about the universe that surrounds them, understands how people think, and that nothing is ever personal. And this, especially with the holidays coming up, I think it's so crucial and is amazing for preparation for holidays and getting together with family. And in this masterclass, right, I share 5 tips with you that I live and breathe by that allow me to be who I am unapologetically, not let outside influences control or dictate my mood, and not allowing anybody to take my peace away from me and my happy and my joy. And I hope this helps you. I also am enrolling into my program called Free to Be Butterfly School. Is a premium program for newly spiritual warrior goddesses and queens to make peace with their past, do that internal work so that they can be the cycle breaker in their family and break the cycle of generational trauma, where women can have the courage and confidence to be who they are unapologetically and have the tools and everything they need to establish boundaries, communicate their needs, and just have a flourishing life and change your life for fucking ever and change the projection of your life too. And I don't know if I said that, it's called Free to Be Butterfly School, where we go through all of the stages of what it takes, like of being a butterfly, caterpillar, cocoon, butterfly stages, and I share with you practices and things that I've used that help me and allow me to be free and be who I am, which I'm so fucking excited about. All of that stuff is at the link in my bio, and I really hope you enjoyed this. I really loved sharing with y'all. I really do love creating videos, and I hope that I'm able to create more videos. I hope that by me sharing, you feel less alone and know that you're not alone on your journey, and yeah, just remind you that you're loved. I also love hugging myself. Part of that self-love that I am so excited to share with you about. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Love you, friends.